Just a bit of a heads up. This is a Sandy episode, and as you might have already guessed, something had to go horribly wrong. Fortunately, it was only his bandwidth, so please excuse his video looking like Japanese genitals during the CHAIRQUISITION and hate mail. LGC cares, ladies and gentlemen. And welcome back to another LinuxGameCast Weekly, the show that covers the latest Linux gaming news, reviews, how-tos, and most importantly, whatever the hell else we come up with this week. Have you ever wanted to be a homicidal comic book collecting hitman? Then boy, do we have the game for you. Mario 64 had a native HD remake until it was Nintendo-noped. And Star Citizen is confirmed to not work whatsoever on the Linuxies.
Do FNA and Monogame have it out for each other? No, what are you, stupid? Godot releases their 1.1 beta, and I guess we're waiting till the end of April for a final version. And we talk about Marijuana Simulator! Wait, what? No. What do you mean that's not what we're talking about? Oh, God damn it!
Outlast releases on Linux using the same Unreal Engine version as Biocock, and it's not an EON port. The 14th is upon us, and no, that's not a Game of Thrones reference at all. And Wang hits version 1.7.40. I ponder my heathen ways.
7 Days to Die Alpha 11 is out. Will the latest update actually improve Linux performance? Pirates, Vikings, and Knights 2 makes its huge debut with killer thieves of different generations of history. Joe's Diner releases on Steam for Linux, Windows, and the Mac client is coming, I'm sure of it.
Jehovah's Diner.
Jehovah's Diner. Show title already. I'm Ben Stone here at LGC Actual, switching the bits, joined every week by my Hebrew, my He-Man, up in Canadian land, Massa Sfeg, and always from Space Portugal,
Hello.
Pelage Morizzo himself. And since we're contractually obligated because our Patreons fucking paid us money, Sandy Martin, our favorite person.
Hey, what's going on? Oh, hey, guys.
And together with Chat Realm Dynamic, we form a bit of a cocaine Voltron. Before we get started, we'd like to see what's going on in each other's life organs. What's up, J-Baby? I heard you got new toys.
If we had post-production, that would be rainbows coming out of my mouth. No, I today officially I've joined the 4K Master Race, so everything is all wonderful and crisp. And I got these two 1080p monitors right next to me over there. They're so blurry. My God!
Did you get something to power it?
Yeah, I got myself a 980, which I threw in this box. So that's a lot of money I don't have anymore.
P-Man, what's up?
Not a whole lot, really. Spent the whole week dicking around with some Iris Pro laptops at work. Hopefully they'll be deployed for everyone, including myself, because I am friggin' tired of that crappy-ass calculator they gave me.
Sandman.
Reading a lot of comics, taking a lot of antipsychotics, and a lot of alcohol. And really not much else.
So
mixing pills and booze.
Just another day in the Canadian Armed Services. That's brilliant.
Tuesday.
Over here, I think it might have been Tuesday or Wednesday, when I had to send a message to J-Man. I said, so should I pick between AT&T's Gigafiber, Google Fiber, or the 2 gigabit service from Comcast? Because they're all coming to my area. Kind of question I had about the Comcast 2 gigajoule setup was, what's the cost on it, Brad? And of course Comcast was like, it's faster, so we don't have to compete. $500. Fuck you. And I was like, no. All right, screw that. But that is actually going to be available next month. And
I know, and you can burn through your 25 gigabyte bandwidth cap in like 20 minutes.
No caps on that. Yeah, that's the first thing. Fortunately, Comcast Cares, which is an oxymoron, wrote back to an article, and they're like, no, there's not going to be any caps on that. This is just utilizing their existing infrastructure that they were just sitting on. They went flip switch, So,
So it's going to be like DOCSIS 3 type shit?
they're going to be doing fiber installs. I mean, they have a lot of fiber.
Really?
Yeah, just dark fiber for their enterprise customers. And they're like, we'll just roll it up to the residential and cut that on. Yeah, all right, done. Like AT&T goes, flip switch. All right, there you go.
Well, what, that $20 million from the 90s has got to go somewhere.
Well, baby, you better flip the switch on the horse.
Oh, yeah. Well, you know, the horse is actually scoring quite high on the Wangometer. It's our Steelix
Update.
Tell him about the Wang.
Oh, man, look at this. Shadow Warrior is out. It came as part of the Humble bundle, and I was kind of scared. I was like, please don't be in the on-port, and it's not. And I was also kind of scared because, previously on LinuxGameCast, we were talking about the price on Brad at 39.99 Wet Stinkies, and I was like, I don't know if we're going to spend that much on it, which eventually we would have, but we just spent a lot of money on a game that was complete shit. But this is out. It is completely native. It is awesome. I love this thing. It does exactly what it says on the tin, and these guys have just been pumping out the updates. What is it? You never heard of it? It is a remake of the original Shadow Warrior, which was a DOS game, I do believe. And it's going through...
in the era of Doom and Quake and whatnot.
You must beware of the low Wang. You team up with your demon friend, you go and you just slaughter, and you have a great fucking time cutting things up. It's brilliant. J-Man, did you like it?
Oh man, this fucker opens up with Stan Bush's The Touch, and I spend a good 3 minutes rocking out to the intro. So that immediately gets like 3 chairs on sounds. I'm fucking into it. This is one polished turd. I went into this thinking, fucking Shadow Warrior here. I don't give a shit. This game has everything I want. It has cutting enemies to bits. It has fucking 80s hair rock, and it has dick jokes. That's literally all I want in a game.
B-Man, you've played with it.
Yeah, I played with it. I haven't started the campaign yet. I just played a couple of rounds of survival, and it looks like a proper first-person shooter, much in the style of Painkiller. Mm-hmm. At least the survival bits.
Devolver Digital, baby.
Yeah. But unlike Painkiller, the guys at Flying Wild Hog seem to be actually paying attention to what their Linux customers are complaining about. And they're fixing the game. That's awesome.
Every little thing they had a problem with. I mean, the biggest things over here I had were fixed in the first 24 hours. How's it up in AMD land?
Actually, it's
it looks
fine,
a bit trippy.
Yeah, it's
it is
pretty
barfing
trippy
rainbows,
from the
right?
screenshot I gave you guys, but it still runs surprisingly well. I should have put the frame counter on. I was getting 56 frames, so even though obviously certain textures and some of the models aren't showing up, but it actually runs well.
Oh, the models are
my
there.
God, I'm coming down!
That's the tessellation on the AMD cards not working. I remember.
All right. Outlast. Nope, the game.
Ooh. Yes. This is, Outlast comes from the Doom 3 school of horror games, and it's just jump scares. You get a jump scare, and you get a jump scare. Walked into a new room. Yep, you guessed it. Jump scare. And I don't know. For me, I've been looking for a proper survival horror game on Linux. But jump scares is not the kind of survival horror that tickles my fancy. I'm kind of looking forward to Soma from Frictional, the guys who made Amnesia: The Dark Descent. But if you like jump scares and you, I don't know, maybe have a YouTube channel where you like to scream at a camera like a Nancy, this is probably the game for you.
Just like Pedro. But,
but definitely better not have an unstandard sound device, or it just will not work. It requires the standard sound card.
I have an output that leads to a tin can that has a string that leads to a tin can, which I hold next to
Don't
my
we
ear.
all? When I played around with this, and I immediately remembered that Indonesian horror game. It was called Dread Out, correct?
Yeah. Yeah.
The entire mechanics, I want to look up and see who came first, because they're almost carbon with the mechanics of each other, but this is
what do you call it? Dread Out was ripping off Fatal Frame.
Fatal Frame.
Yes.
Brilliant, Bond. It's like Dread Out minus the Asians. That's racist. So, Sandy, have you played around with it? Are you terrified?
No,
petrified?
I'm actually trying to build up some testicle testicular fortitude to actually play it, or at least have my kids around me, so that way when I do get scared at some points, I can like just grab my kids by their throats and just squeeze for dear life. But I'm really looking forward to playing it. I'm just, building up some courage,
Well, something I was looking...
I give it about 20 minutes, actually. It was like... Pedro's description was pretty much spot on. Jump scare, jump scare, jump scare.
Yeah.
Music goes crescendo. The camera goes shaky Star Trek mode. And it's like, oh my god, stuff's happening. Okay. Am I dead yet? No. Okay. Moving on.
Okay, something else I was excited about, but Sandy, you took a look at it.
Yeah, I took a look at it. This is the Alpha 11 for 7 Days to Die, which is they call it the Annihilation release. And so basically they moved up to Unity 5 with the new standard shaders and reflection probes, new ambient oscillation, like all the good stuff that is in the new Unity 5. What, the ambient oscillation?
Yeah. What that?
Obviously, it's oscillation of the ambient light. Yeah.
What you got to say to that, Brian?
Yeah. What do you got to say to that?
He's naming a bunch of features. I'm just curious if he actually knows what they are.
They set his keys for this.
I'm not a complete.
Just says
listen, I know you think I'm a complete retard, but I'm not that dumb. But yeah. So like, whether like I tried it out, I find like the menus load up, like a lot of the 2D stuff in the menus load up much faster. I find with there's still lag time with character creation, the loading of the actual maps. Aside from that, like there's no real like obviously there's a visual improvement, but I find like the load times for everything is still pretty much the same on my end.
Remember, kids, if you want to play a drinking game, every time Sandy says take a shot, that is one of our ultimate challenges.
That's super hard mode.
It's super hard mode. Ultimate hard mode is every time Pedro giggles, take a shot. But what I want to say about this...
you do get a Steam achievement, though. So
I saw that, and if you're wondering what is this, you never heard of it. I mean, it's your standard, it's like Rust with the zombies. That's really all you want. It's crafting, try to kill zombies, get killed to death. That's it, procedurally generated worlds. But I was reading in this, and they said, Unity 5. I was like, that noise, I'm going to take the Pepsi challenge with this. And, yeah, kind of like what Sandman said. It generates the worlds where you don't have to, go make some fucking tea and come back and you're like, is it done yet? But the performance under Linux is still FSM. Awful. It's atrocious.
Oh
it's
my,
bad.
what, like 15 frames a second on everything.
I mean, not just in 4K with a 980. If you scale it down to a peasant resolution like 1080p, sorry, console players, it's just equally shit. So,
it's nightmare fuel how bad it is.
It's actually gotten slightly better. Anti-aliasing, which was one of the
Pedro,
things
that's like saying you have the best type of cancer.
They got it up from 12 frames a second? My god, this is like an optimized Unity mess 101.
AA never really worked with this game, and I figured out, okay, let's turn that off, put everything up on 11. Oh, instead of 18 frames per second, now I'm getting around 40 at 1080p. Progress.
Okay.
Yeah. I can't be fucked. I'm in.
Speaking of getting fucked.
Oh, yes. It's ass stimulator. No, it's grass simulator. And
It's not about starting your own grow business, is it?
It really isn't. It's not even about being grass, and that was my biggest complaint. But it's basically a game where you run around and shoot stuff and nothing happens, and occasionally a cow will explode. Now, part of me wants to think this is part and parcel with sort of the goat simulator. Oh, look at our stupid bullshit. You should give us money because it's funny, and you're paying $10 to say that you... Oh, God, heartburn. My God. Stay down, lunch.
Better luck next time, heartburn.
Yeah. No, where it's just one of these stupid games. Oh, yeah, I own it as a joke. I paid $10 for it. Except you didn't pay $10 for it. You paid $23 for it. I don't know. This looks like a huge waste of time, money. At least Boat Simulator played it straight and had a full release. This is just wandering around and shooting stuff.
Yeah.
So, Sandy, are you excited about it?
No, absolutely not. I think it's a big waste of money, and I think it's a waste of everyone's time, and I'm not even going to touch that.
Nope.
All right, moving on.
Speaking of waste of time and improper timelines. Just kidding. Oh my. This
Wait, what the? Pirates, Vikings, and Random Bear Trap. Okay, got it. Go.
Got it.
That happens.
Pirates, Vikings, and Knights 2. So if you remember the original one, which was not on Linux, this was a mod to Half-Life 2, I believe. And so they redid it. They upped
booty butt, cheek.
And so they redid it. They redid a lot of they reskinned everything again. And so now they came out with the sequel, and they've added more features towards classes and accolades, and like I think they added a bunch of achievements. Yeah, there's like 175 Steam achievements for this game. So like
they basically
I
just
don't know,
took
it's
the ones
free to
from
play.
Counter-Strike and rebranded them.
Yeah, I mean it's priced to sell, but
it's chivalry on the cheap. That's
yes.
I played it for a little, and then it doped my system for no reason. But
cheap is free.
Yeah.
Okay.
But
this masterpiece.
Oh,
Sandy, tell us about it.
Yeah, we don't talk about that thing.
We got to talk about that thing.
Yeah, I
Sandy.
know. We got to talk about this thing. Like, use the world as your weapon in Son of Nor, which is selling for like $21.99. I think it's on sale for $18.69 Canadian right now. I don't know what that is in America. But like, yeah,
that's like maybe $3.
Yeah, you are part of an elite group of people who can use telekinesis to move shit and alter the world around you and do all kinds of crazy stuff. Because
And
you're just
listen to
amazing.
hours of exposition. But we'll
Yeah.
get into that. We'll get into that later. We got a review for that coming up. They gave us
Yeah,
some
stick
keys.
around for the chairs.
I know. So I don't think
but
we're going to go into this
in
too
short, you're
much.
basically playing around as the it's third person wizard from Trine. That is the game.
Yeah.
Okay.
And moving on.
At least
to
it's out of
something-
early access, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, yes.
And now we have Joe's Diner, which is
Where
literally
is
like
Joe's
another...
apartment?
Yeah, diner in the middle of nowhere, and you're literally, I have not tried this, but like it's on Route 7, middle of nowhere. You come into Joe's Diner, built on a site of a former Indian cemetery amongst the buried.
racist.
Yeah.
They prefer to be
Obvious.
called indigenous peoples, Sandy. Come
I'm
on.
I'm sure that's the Aboriginals of Australia. Space
What's it
Australia?
about?
But basically, it's a horror walk around horror survival game. You explore almost like Outlast, and yeah, so you walk around, you go through the setting, weird music, stuff like that. Beep, boop,
You
cues.
see, what Sandy is trying to say is that your character is an employee of Joe's Diner, and you have to keep the noise down because the two Indian chieftains that were buried below said diner were at war of each other. They were at war of each other, with each other. What the hell? And you have to keep the noise down because
Pedro,
one of
which
them
one-
just wants to rest.
You know which one
One of
wins? The one that you feed. Listen, if I wanted to play a game where I act as a waiter and I take abuse from decrepit old skeleton men, I would apply for a job at the local Denny's.
Yeah, I watched Jim Sterling play this on his YouTube channel, and I'm like, yeah, no, I was very disappointed.
But army men were
Early
something.
access, no more. Yes, Ven's a bit lost there. This is running with rifles, and
Not
they have
used with
run
with
their...
scissors, which you should totally do.
There we go.
This is running with rifles. They are now out of early access. It is Army Man with an isometric, the usual isometric 3D type thing
Look
going
at the
on.
price on Brad, $14.99.
Yeah, they sent us a key for the Sura long time ago.
That thing.
Yeah.
It's an ogre game, but unlike Torchlight 2, this one runs stupidly well in the 970. I fired it up because we're out of early access. Let's give it another bash. I fired it up during the game, 223 frames per second. All right. Someone figured out the ogre engine. But yeah, if you like the Army Man isometric real-time combat thing, this one is your dice. I very much enjoyed this game.
I think it's important to note that this does not work with the AMD proprietary drivers, so Sandy Crowley.
No, it does not.
I guess
then
I'll
again,
just have to play upstairs.
Then again, what does, to be perfectly honest?
Yeah, it's
Also
because
fact.
there's an extension for Pixmaps missing from the proprietary drivers, which exists on the open source driver. So if you have an AMD chip, you need the open source drivers to play this one.
All right. Now
It's time to
on
take a dump, though.
to taking a dump.
Yes. Hold up. You see,
I
those
gotta go
latest
wipe,
titles
excuse me.
that they have released on April 1st at the top of the list there, yeah. It's...
1940. Really? That fucking game I played as a kid in the arcade? Really?
Yeah,
Yes,
you
that
open
one.
that thing and you look at the release date, January 1st, 1994, and then you move on to the Challenge of the Five Realms. You open that up and you see, released on January 1st, 1992. There's a bit of a pattern going on here, isn't there? And then you open up the other one and it's January 1st, 1988. Wow. So someone...
This is Nighttime Studios. This is the same guys who've been uploading the entirety of the Pajama Sam epic arc.
Yeah.
of
So
Steam.
these
They-
guys got their-
actually, I will point out, most of the games that they upload are crap, but I Have No Mouth and I Must Scream is one of the games they ported, and that is a fantastic
Okay,
game. I highly
seriously, this. All right, this requires 1.5 gig.
Well,
It,
technically,
it,
a
it, it also
single
requires a 980 to run at 60 frames a second.
Well, someone has apparently gotten their hands on the old Microprose IPs and have dumped them on Steam. I don't know, honestly. I really don't know.
It's good that they're available on Linux, but I don't think these guys have gotten the hint that no one's really buying these games.
No, not so much. Do you want some of this amaze sauce on your face, Organ?
You know what? Maybe some of them silent service. I remember playing that way back in the day. So I think if anything, I'd probably pick up some of them for nostalgic purposes, but I wouldn't obviously spend too much time on them. But yeah.
Well, one thing we know about nostalgia is our horse is not a huge fan of it, J-Man.
Really isn't, but Humble is. And coming up next, we talk about their bundles and why you should always piss off Nintendo by stealing their content. It's a good idea.
True story.
Hey, ladies and gentlemen, it is the weekly Patreon update for LGC. And we actually have a pretty big update this week. We have 3, not 1, not 2, but 3 new patrons.
Five,
one
sir.
of them, you may know him, he's Manwich. He's always in chat realm, or at least sometimes whenever he can. Manwich 2000 kicked in at $3.50
But
a
true,
week. Yeah,
With
it's
those
like a
glowing
true
red
sea
eyes.
monster. And then we have Mr. Mathieu Commandant. You may know him
AKA
as
Freedom
Strider.
Fries.
Freedom
Yeah, he
fries.
also hangs around in Chat Realm known as Strikor. And someone else from Chat Realm this week, The Atomic Ass, kicking in at $2.50 a week. Thank you.
But
Thank you
Pedro,
very much.
why did all these people kick in? What could they possibly hope for, son?
Ah, yes. That is a new goal, which, if you weren't paying attention last week, you may have heard something that there maybe was someone called Matt Hartley.
Never heard
Whoever
of
that
him.
guy
No.
is. Yeah, never
No
heard
idea.
of him.
It's
not like he was on some...
never heard of him until last week, actually. That was
It's
that was
not
an
like
interesting
he
2
was on
hours.
some high-profile Linux podcast. Not gaming, though, but he was on a pretty high-profile Linux podcast. But yeah,
The Gaming on
there
Linux
was a
podcast?
new...
Pedro,
There was a-
Pedro, do you know the fun thing about last week?
What?
Like 2 seconds after you hung up, he called in.
I know.
Damn it. I was really tired at that point.
But
yeah,
let's talk about this goal. We have 23 Patreons. That means 68.82 wet, stinky cashes per Saturday night train wreck. We have hit the hallowed all the chairs time warp. And look, Sandman's here. We keep our word, Organ. Make Matt bad is a thing starting next week. Coming up next, we have Trying Again at 75. You get some rewards, value
Almost
for value
there.
and all that. You can get our Super Squad in Chat Realm Dynamic. It'll give you a custom badge organ. Get some show notes. We'll plug your stuff. And because Chicago kicks
the
ass.
The $350 a month guys need to get back to us and tell us what they want us to
Do
plug.
all your business, co-host.
Send us the URL for your Divine Art and your
even
pony
better
art.
yet, if you have ideas for a Patreon goal, scream in our direction. We're always open to stuff like that. Something you might want to see, something you might be willing to kick us a few shekels to make happen. All right, news.
Well, I think
Homeless.
this week it deserves it. Because, gentlemen, are you ready to humble? Because these guys, after I don't know how many bundles of just repeats or having no Linux games whatsoever, they have gone out of their way and they have found an awesome lot of indie games to support. You got Pixel Piracy, Unepic, Super Splatters. Never heard of those, but okay. And then if you pay more than the average, which is thanks Windows users for that, by the way, which is currently sitting at $5.98. You got Outlast, awesome, Torchlight 2, and La Mulana, with some more to be coming soon. And if you pay if you pay $10 or more, you get
the Wang.
The Wang.
Which you got to consider is an amazeballs deal, because that's normally 40 wet stinky cashes. P-Man called this an insta-buy, and I definitely agree with that. I mean, I was looking at that Shadow Warrior and Outlet. Wait, shut up. Money being thrown at screen. Where's the prop 100? Boom, there. Done. You know, usually we'd be happy with some freeze-dried Taster's Choice, right? But Humble springs a serious gourmet shit on us. What flavor of moon technology is it?
It's been a long time. It's been a really long time since some Humble bundles made me go like, Insta-buy! Screaming at the top of my lungs. Nori was genuinely confused, just like when we have sex.
All right, Sam.
But no. Buy this bundle for just Shadow Warrior. I mean, I don't care about it.
I mean, look at the Pac-Man. I mean,
Shadow Warrior is worth your $10.
And
look at the Pac-Man.
Right. $8.99, average max $7.17. Now, again, a lot of times this is especially one where, you know, the Linux Pac-Man is actually bigger than the Mac. But you got to remember that there's not a whole lot of game. It's getting smaller and smaller and smaller that you can play on your $1,000 MacBook Pro with integrated Intel Iris video. Sandman, what did you think about this? Did you insta-buy it? Did you say disparaging remarks about its mother?
Insta-buy. Like, as soon as I saw Shadow Warrior, I was like sold. And then obviously Outlast, because I was like checked out the video for it, and I was like, yep, I'm buying instantly. I want to see what the more games are coming soon. Yeah, I know, which I haven't played yet. Just you know what I mean? But I love the fact that the Linux is getting bigger and bigger. That little piece of the pie is getting bigger and bigger every time.
Takedown notice in 3, 2, All right. Royston Ross. Earlier this week, I actually heard a thing. It was like somebody has made a Super Mario 64 HD remake with Unity 5, demonstrating because he wanted to show off his new baseballs. What does he have? It's a controller.
Collision engine or something? Or...
Modified input, blah, blah, blah. And pixel
it's a
placement
movement and collision engine that he's got going on.
So he's thinking, I'll recreate. No, I'm going to yoink some actual Nintendo assets, stick all this together, and what I actually was thinking he might have thought was then, of course, Nintendo's going to Nope show title. They did, Brad, because bang right there.
Oh, well, I mean, what did you expect? If you say right on the site that you are ripping assets from
Eric
Super Mario
Ross has
Galaxy.
admitted defeat and pulled down all download mirrors for his free Unity-based version. Of course, you saw that, and I don't know, maybe he was thinking that all the blogs and all the news organs and all that would pick that up, and he would get some promotion out of it. And everybody kind of went, what? Oh, that was a thing? Can't download it now. F-all. Anybody have a chance to play with it? I played with it, and here's the reason I played with it. Because it's Unity 5. And I was like, that's going to be the first Unity 5 game that I'm going to be able to test the controller out. Because it's Mario, of course you got to have some type of control. And his thing's like, I know the controls. And you download a zip file, and you see the permissions are wrong. And you're like, well, okay, this guy has not even tested it on Linux. Because, you know, chmod plus X. let's make that executable, and launched it. It worked out of the box. No configuring, nothing. Everything was mapped properly. And I was like, good job, Unity. Anybody else experience this?
Yeah, no, they certainly got the shitty camera from Mario 64 down pat. I too was actually pleasantly surprised about how the controller worked out of the box. Senor Bard did pretty much say that one of the big focuses for Unity 5 was to improve controller integration. So it looks like they've made true on that promise. But we shall see as more and more Unity 5 games come down the pipeline. I don't know. Pedro, you tried it.
Yeah, I did. And at first I read the news and I'm like, okay, it's just a proof of concept thing for the character movement / collision engine. Maybe? But then again, Nintendo is not exactly the open-minded kind of company when it comes to their intellectual property. And
especially when you outright steal it from their copyrighted games.
Yeah.
Put it on the internet for free. Yeah.
8 or so hours later, that article on Eurogamer goes up, and I'm like, yeah, saw that one coming. But yeah, I actually, because it was Unity 5, and okay, it's got better controller support, so I tried it with the NVIDIA controller here, and it works after I told X Input to stop listening to it, because it doesn't work if X Input is listening to this, it thinks it's a keyboard. And so, yeah.
It's clearly a keyboard. Look at it.
X Input, guys, you need to fix this.
Dvorak,
this is not a keyboard.
If you ask any console peasant,
Pedro,
they'll say
why
that's
are you
a
holding
keyboard.
up a keyboard and saying it's not a keyboard? I don't understand what you're talking about.
For our audio listeners, I'm actually holding up an NVIDIA Shield controller. Just saying.
No, he's literally holding up like one of those Logitech 210 USB keyboards. I don't know what he's talking about.
Sandy, thoughts?
No, the exact same thing. I got to try it out. I'm not going to say my sources, but I tried it out. X Input, same thing with me. And I did it on the old Logitech F710. And so once I switched it over to the direct input, worked phenomenal. And I was just,
Performance
amazing.
was all right, too.
Yeah, it was pretty good performance. I was getting at least, I'd probably say at least 30 FERPs a second.
I'm going to say, at the end of the day, take that shot to wrap and put a bow on this is it kind of gives me a little bit of a hope organ for Unity 5. But we'll see. We've been proven wrong before. So don't cry. Okay. Now, unfortunately, because audio and all this actually, I'll put it in post. But, Star Citizen, everyone's been wondering about... there we go. We got it.
It works.
Good deal.
Version of Star Citizen. Are there still plans to bring Star Citizen to the Linux platform? Well, we run all our servers on Linux, so we basically compile the game in Linux. The issue with actual Linux support is the graphics driver, so we don't have an OpenGL graphics DLL at the moment. Crytek was working on one, but they haven't managed to get it working to a state that everyone thinks the performance is acceptable, and so that's kind of what's really held up us being able to support Linux and also Mac. We're longer term we're looking at OpenGL next and having conversations with various parties about possibly doing support on OpenGL next. So such as AMD, obviously, who has been doing stuff on the graphics card side. So that's something we're pretty interested in. So I think in the future you could probably see us. We're definitely going to be doing DX12, and OpenGL next would be another thing we would do, and then obviously that would enable Linux support and probably Mac support.
Blah, 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 blah.
Yeah, that's basically all what I was going to say. Blah, 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 we're not doing it. Blah, 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 Crytek screwed up. Blah, 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 we're still not doing it. Basically, all these rumblings about CryEngine getting Linux support. Apparently, Crytek has not put out OpenGL DLL because, you want to use all your OpenGL code on Windows. That's the thing that people do. Yeah. But apparently this is stopping them from essentially doing any Linux work whatsoever. I don't know. They mentioned that, we're looking at supporting GL Next and whatnot. Here's the thing. This is totally... in my heart of hearts, I fear that this will totally become, I'll switch to Linux when X comes out on it. Developers are very, very slow-moving, and they don't like things that they don't know. So they'll probably move to DirectX 12, and when people ask them about OpenGL for other platforms, they're going to be like, we want to focus on this because this is where all our sales are going. Blah, blah, blah.
I don't know. I kind of looked at this, and I can't say I was shocked, Brad. I really can't, because if you remember, billions of years ago, about 5 months ago, Crytek was almost completely noped. Bankrupt. Do not pass go, do not collect 200 watt stinky. And
that game of theirs, Reese, fucked up.
Exactly, and if you're wondering when they're talking about OpenGL next, that worries me, because it's no longer called that, Brad. It's called Vulkan. What I'm envisioning with this is, let's say, a year down the road, maybe Crytek, by some moon tech, sorts it, and it's like, we have a proper OpenGL render. They're going to go back with Star Citizen and say, well, we're kind of too heavily invested in the DX12 to be bothered by it, Brad. So, what do you think, Sandman?
Then switch to Vulkan. It's just that easy. Like, I'm sorry, but like...
It's so easy.
Yeah. Because one of the things that bothers me with devs now is, like, they're like, well, DirectX 12, it's going to be the thing, and whereas Vulkan is multi-platform, it's going to work on every platform. DX12 only works on Microsoft products. So, in turn, like, if all these developers want to go cross-platform, they're saving a ton more money with Vulkan, like, just using the Vulkan API. And, yeah, like, it's... yeah. Whereas, like, you look at Valve, when they were at GDC, they actually showed off Vulkan on what was it? I can't remember the Intel.
Intel
it was
running Vulkan.
But they showed it off, and, like, there was
Dota
actual
2.
footage
The game
of it
was Dota
running.
2.
Yeah. And, like, what does Microsoft show? A slideshow. They have no actual visual proof of DX12 running. Like,
no. I mean, I've seen some DX12 benchmarks over at PC Per. I don't think the Walrus did it. What are your thoughts, P-Man, before we move on?
I honestly don't have anything. Crytek said that they were going to support Linux, but then we didn't hear anything for the longest time, and the only thing that we hear is the Star Citizen 1 dev saying that, the engine doesn't really support Linux, so we can't really do anything about it, and they're not engine devs, so...
And I guess one last thing I do want to bring up is Unreal Engine 4, ladies and gentlemen. Open source, out of the box, cross-platform, boom. Okay, so, J-Man, you going to give some credit here?
So we actually have a correction from last week's episode, thanks to our friend of the show, No, so we had reported about a blog post last week about how XNA has Monogame has finally removed the requirement for Windows to compile Monogame games. This is actually not true, as Ethan goes in this rather long article that I had to read several times to actually fully parse. While the entire pipeline in terms of Monogame is entirely cross-platform, several of the dependencies are not. He goes into some more details. Additionally, there seems to be some sort of confusion, completely separate to what we were reporting, regarding what exactly is a Monogame game versus what is a FNA game. And putting the relationship between these two as competitors when in fact they're not. Monogame is supposed to be the next version of XNA. FNA is supposed to be a complete re-implementation from the ground up of XNA 4. So they have two entirely different goals. Ethan is actually is the primary contributor to FNA, and also a major contributor to Monogame. So why there would be any animosity between them, I don't know. Ethan's a little pissed off that there's all these misconceptions floating around. There's a lot of misinformation, so he sought to clear that up.
Also, yes, there was that little thing in there. What did you have this quote? He wrote, while the pipeline as a whole stands alone, some of the components used do not, 2MGFX, we all know and love it, still requires a Windows host to run, as GLSL shaders require the use of Mojo shaders, Direct 3D shader binary parsing. So, yes, that's a thing. Anybody else have thoughts, hints, allegations on this? No? All right. Moving on!
Yes. We're done waiting for Godot. Well,
Ugh.
Sort of. We still
Go
need to
with your freaky
get
bug. I mean, change that
folks.
logo, Brad. Come on. Man, that's just not going to feel right.
They should have called it Kafka or Gregor Samsa.
Or just Nope Sauce.
Yeah, but anyways, Godot, you might have heard of it. It is this really cool open source game engine that looks very, very pretty. They have a 1.1 beta out. Brings some nifty stuff. Like what do you call it? They have tab completion finally. Thank God I don't have to actually program the IDE. It can do my work for me. They also completely overhauled their 2D subsystem, and they've added a number of improvements. Now you can download this and try it out, but it is currently in beta, so you're probably going to have to... They say they're going to get this out by the end of
I love these guys right here. If you're looking, you can find all this in our show notes as everything else. Yeah, big-ass scene right here. You get your prefabs, other engines. Scene. All right. So, I mean, it's open source. Throw them some love if you're thinking about it. You know, and everybody... What I just said, everyone's jumping on the UE4 bandwagon, but maybe this is... If you have a choice between... my first game engine, you're thinking, maybe the Unity, I can wrap my brain organ around that. Give this a go. It's going to work better. So, P-Man, you got any thoughts?
Not really, but speaking of, with Unity not being so well supported under Linux, let's talk about something that allows you. Something that allows you to play those things that are not at all supported under Linux. Because it's Wang. They have released version 1740. And as usual, they have a bunch of new things. They have the bug fixes, which there aren't a whole lot of this time around. It's like 29.
Oh, they finally added better support for ZZB data and Windows sockets. I don't know what the fuck all that means, but it's
no idea what that is. But yeah, they support kernel job objects. They have various fixes for list view control. No idea what that is either. The better support for OOB data in Windows sockets, support for DIB images in the OLE data cache. It's Chinese at this point. I have no idea.
Yeah, we are Linux people. These are guys just purely implementing Windows functionality under Linux. They're doing a fantastic job. You know, if you have to run your Windows applications under Linux, and you got to pay for a product, go with Crossover, because then at least that money goes back to Wine.
Yeah.
Unlike virtual programming.
Unlike virtual programming. Wait, this isn't virtual programming? I thought they were the same thing.
No. You see, one project
contributes
back to the open source community. The other one probably could not withstand a code audit. Because, just saying, Brad.
But yeah. Currently, I have 2 Wine games installed in this PC, and I'm
that you endlessly tell people about all week.
More and more, I wonder whether or not they're worth the hard drive space they're taking up.
The answer, of course, is Schmelden. Yes. Coming up next, we throw chairs at Sons of Nor, and we keep throwing them until it goes away forever.
Actually, the chairs are very cinematic this time.
Chairs have proposed a very challenging quest for us today. We must put down our laurels as brothers of the chairs and take up arms as Sons of Nor from Still Alive Studios, developed on the Unity engine for 1999. What stinky space euros or space dollars? What is it? The world is your weapon in Son of Nor, a third-person action adventure. After the environment, or alter the environment, with your terraforming abilities, use telekinetic powers to bend the dynamic surroundings, and you cast powerful elemental spells that can be combined to wreak havoc on your enemies. Sounds like a very impressive proposition. It really isn't, but we'll get into that. Cue the chairquisition. 1 chair means that it's crap, 2 chairs means that meh, 3 chairs means that it's pretty good, and 4 chairs is something you're not going to see in this review. So, we also have our categories, do mixed with the working shiny sounds controls, and fun! So, let's kick this off.
Fine, we'll kick it off. Alright, how does it make with the working, you ask? On the Ubuntu 14.04 Vanilla, 4K displayed, 980 powered, octo-core box of business. Well, Brad, this critter is struggling, and I mean struggling, on a good, like if you really stare at a penny very hard and don't move anything, it might hit 30 FERPs. Might. And that's with things at 1440, or 4K, or 720 in a window at 4K, which looks adorable. Outside of it just not fucking working right. Outside of running like rewarmed ass, everything else worked, but got a bit of a demonstration here. Let me see. Oh, that's P-Man's. We'll bring that up in a second. I didn't include mine, but I'll put that in post because it's just laughable. The best I can do with Makes with the Working Since it's not completely busted. It works, just not all that well. It's 3 chairs. J-Baby.
Oh, yeah, you gotta love those 15 frames per second cutscenes.
Oh,
And I mean,
yeah.
it runs like, so I just shoved a 980 in this sucker. It's a Fedora 21 powered 1090Ti, now with the 980 in it. Also still has the 670 in there for some backup monitors over here, but that's not where the gaming happens. Runs like ass at 1K or 4K. So that's just no good, man. The game works sort of, kind of, but it just runs like ass. So I gotta give it 2 chairs, because it was 50% of the effort. Was not tested.
Yeah.
Not QA'd at all. Period. End of story.
Bring up that screenshot again, Ben.
No,
As
not
you can
that one,
see
the
on
one
that
from the game.
screenshot, and for our audio listeners, I'll describe it. You see, on screen, there's my character holding a chest. He's standing still. He's not moving. It's nighttime. He's black. Just about almost everything is really dark, and the
That's
top
racist.
quadrant of the screen is a skybox. So it has literally nothing on screen, and it's giving me 15 frames per second. This is on a octo-core piledriver FX 8370E, overclocked at 4 GHz, and the Asus GTX 970 Strix. This is bad. This is really, really bad. 2 chairs.
And on the computer upstairs, which is running Ubuntu 1410 64-bit on the i7 4770K with the GTX 660 using the 346.47 proprietary drivers, it's shit, like everyone else. If you run it on your AMD, either open source or proprietary, you will have memory leakage. This is an actual thing that is going on in the forums right now. It's actual junk. The game crashes. When I run it upstairs on the NVIDIA drivers, it's shit. I'm getting 7 to 9 frames in certain areas, depending on activity. But yeah, this is absolute utter shit. I'm giving it 1 chair.
Oh no, chair. So that's 2 chairs for Mixed with the Working. Not off to a good start. Moving on to shiny and sounds, Ben. Was it as shiny as my
Okay.
face is right now?
I know, it's amazeballs, isn't it? Really, I noted the X-Clone buttons on the screen, so I decided to have a go. Less than a minute later, it was clear that only 3 of these button organs were usable. Go Unity, and not testing your shit, Brad. Dear flying spaghetti monster. The animation rigging in this is absolutely atrocious. It genuinely drives home the sense of an animated GIF, or GIF, depending on what camp of Nazi you are, repeating while the landscape just floats under you. And the jumping animation is even more delightful. It's the one leg, like, who jumps like that? Seriously.
I do.
I know, right? I guess it had sounds. Okay, I say I guess it has sounds because it was hard to listen with my brain organ screaming at full tilt, saying how could you release such a poor performing, busted piece of shit that can only, again, be described as atrocious. So, your shinies and your sounds, they're there, but fuck 'em in the ear, Brad. 2 chairs.
Oh yeah, stock Unity assets all over the place. Compounded with the fact that this game runs like total ass, the game's looks are not doing it any favors. The voice actors are just kind of there. They're reading about the Sarumans and the Sons of Nord and all that stuff. They really don't sound like they're buying it at all. The delivery is just kind of stale. I do like the 9/11 allegory, what with all the lizardmen and whatnot. That seemed like a little too high concept for this sort of game, but jet fuel, of course, cannot melt steel beams. And I don't know, I think I kind of broke something. I had a screenshot I threw in there. I don't know if Ven has that queued up.
I didn't grab that.
No. Where there's like an elevator thing.
Yeah, the platform's
there we go. There we go. Take an inglorious 4K. You're supposed to hop on that platform, which is supposed to be on the ground, but it is not. It is all the way up there. I don't know what's wrong with that. I'm gonna give it 1 chair. Ben, you found like the giant carrot. That was your big graphical glitch, wasn't it? 2 chairs rather.
Okay, so I shouldn't have.
What? Did I?
Let's. You said 1 chair, so.
Did I?
Let's put another chair. There we go.
Meant
all
2
right.
chairs.
So,
Not
Meant
that
to,
it
don't
notes.
fuck with it.
yeah, okay. So characters in this game move and look like they're fresh out of 2003. Think Guild Wars, the very first one, or Jedi Knight, Jedi Academy. Either one of
which
those.
is also available on Linux.
Yeah, it is. And it's also a much better game, but we'll get to that. The voice acting is, Jordan already kind of touched on this, but it's cringeworthy. Some characters genuinely sound louder than others, and the man who voices the headmaster type guy sounds as though he phoned it in from several different rooms, because if you listen to the acoustics on his voice, sometimes you hear the echo, sometimes you do not. 2 chairs. I can't give it 1 because they're actually functional, but I wanted to real bad.
When I was playing the game, I was saying to myself the exact same thing Pedro was literally just saying about it being so much similar to Jedi Academy. Like, I was sitting there waiting to be able to bust out my double-ended lightsaber and duel with it. Jedi Academy released in September 17th, 2003, and it looks like it could give this game a run for its money in both looks and sound, because that was like a quality game, and like they built this game as if it was 2003. Like, the optimization with the graphics is atrocious, especially when you're selling it to all the platforms that you originally intended from the get-go. And the sound is junk. I'm giving it two chairs.
All right, so that's 2 chairs for Shiny and Sounds. Up next is Control. Then, how'd it work with the Xclone controller?
Well, Brother Swing, it's my first Unity game, so, only half the buttons might be mapped on a good alternate Tuesday. You can't even quit this fucking thing properly. When you try to quit, you move over with your gerbil, you click quit, it doesn't work.
Nope,
it
doesn't register.
wants to keep you in this nightmare fuel. So you can use your note button. I have mine macroed to the Windows key on my keyboard, which is Alt F4. Nope. Or you can use the controller and like tap, 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 tap. It's just a shining example of what's to come. New rule, though. Ladies and gentlemen, if you show me a controller organ at the beginning of your game that looks like my Xclone controller and says, have a go, come on, it's right here, we have it. I go, okay, I'm going to use this. And it doesn't work when it's on the fucking screen. You're going to lose all the chairs, Brad. But here's the thing. I can already hear you. But Fiend, you can remap them. Well, voice inside my head, that sounds frightening like Liz. All they did was shove the Moonglyph Unity 4 controller remap hack scream of fuck all and nope in-game. That doesn't count, Mom. At all. 1 chair. Boom.
I said this before in the news segment. The controls really do remind me of the Wizard from Trine. I hate playing the Wizard from Trine. Not quite as much as I hate playing the Thief, but yeah. I don't know. The controls are kind of there. Everything is all context sensitive, and it does. If you're supposed to be like this crazy powerful psychic who can do things, the controls don't really facilitate that sort of feeling. Really, it's just pick up rock, throw it at enemy, raise sand, raise sand again, drown people in sand. Ha 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 ha. Oh, they're starting to complain now. I better continue on with the quest. I don't. The 2 chairs. The controls are there, but they're not particularly good.
Contact sensitive, Jordan?
Context sensitive. That's what I said.
Contact sensitive. But yeah,
They
Unity.
are context sensitive. I touch my mouse and they do things.
This is Unity, so if you happen to have a mouse like, say, a Rocat Kova Plus, which happens to have like 7 buttons on it, well, fuck you, because you're not using any more than 3. What's that? You want to rebind them? Well, fuck you too, because you're not going to do it. That said, though, it was responsive, as much as Unity physics can be responsive, I suppose. But I can't bring myself to give it more than 2 chairs, because even though it lets me remap the keyboard, it did not let me map the extra buttons on my mouse. So 2 chairs.
Shit. Piss poor work towards the controller. This goes with all Unity devs. Properly map your controllers. SDL2. Use it. You love it. Like, just sheer laziness. Like, I get it. You want people to be able to play this game with an emotive epoch, which is the fucking head sensors you can put on your head and control shit with your mind. But, like, that's no excuse for shitty controls throughout the menu and gameplay. And Ben already touched on a lot of that. So I'm giving it 1 chair.
Really? It actually supports the brain controller thing. I did not know that. Well, I'm sure it sucks because you need to have an empty head. So it would be perfect for Michael Larabelle. So that's 1 chair for control. Oh, making enemies on Linux Gamecast. Up next, fun. So, then, did you have fun?
This looks and performs like an extremely early alpha. You have all the proto bits needed for a good game, but this is severely undercooked, and only gach should be served raw, and this, is no gach. Honestly, I expected a bit more from 151,175 wet stinky funded Kickstarter.
Oh, they have a Kickstarter.
Yeah, I have 33 minutes logged in-game, and that's a flying spaghetti monster damn miracle. All of those minutes have been torturous sub-30 FERPs. It's just painful. This is not a console. And it's impossible for me to tell if Son of Noor possesses enjoyable bits, since it's so unfucking playable. It's herky. It makes me feel like what Pedro must have felt with his legitimate calculator. That's all I can say. But I was going to give him a bit of advice. I was like, okay, Vin, just wrap this up. I was going to say that you lot should have put this business on early access and worked on it a bit more, but you fucking did, Brad. And this is the best you can come up with, ? 1999, ladies and gentlemen. And on that bombshell, good night in the world. 1 chair.
Yeah. This game has a severe case of, oh my fucking god, I don't care. Like, immediately when you start, they just start pounding you with exposition and blah, 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 blah. The Sarahul, the humans, the bird people, the hunched over turtle Bigfoot people. Like, if you want to have world building, like, I appreciate that you've actually taken the time to develop your world and mythology and whatnot, but exposition is not how you convey that. You explore the world, you hear people talk, the context of people's dialogues can inform you about prejudices and concerns and fears and all this stuff. It's proper storytelling technique and not, oh, the 10 million years ago in the future's past. It literally reminded me of the fucking chicken, the robot chicken Ghost of Christmas Past Future from Aqua Teen Hunger Force. And as for the gameplay itself, it honestly feels like they found a bunch of third-person action games, took a bunch of the minor mechanics from them, and mashed them together like a child mashing Play-Doh together to create this sort of gestalt that isn't very cooked, not really well thought out. The mechanics are stale and boring. It was a chore to go through this game for like even an hour. I tried to at least put an hour in, and I could not do that. I just could not fucking care one share.
There is an amazing game hidden in here somewhere. Unfortunately, it's buried in metric fuck tons of technical problems. You have slow-ass loading times, shitty frames per second, it lacks proper controls. The graphics look like they're from 12 years ago, and basically, I think at this point you'd need the Large Hadron Collider to be able to run it at anything other than calculator performance, because yeah, that's how Unity games used to play on my calculator. It was always shitty. It was always at around 15 or so frames per second. It was horrible. And that's bad. In 2015, and I have a reasonable enough PC right now.
if you're listening to this on audio, there's a lovely comment from the developer about removing more stuff from this game, but continue, Pedro.
Yeah, because they have no idea what optimization is, and I mean zero freaking idea. If you look at their Steam forums, everyone, whether they're on Linux, they're on Windows, or whatever, everyone's complaining about really, really shitty performance. How do you not test for this before you release the game? And even worse, how do you pull your game out of early access with these kinds of problems? I'm sorry. One chair. It's literally the best I can do because there was a great idea in there, but you failed in the execution.
What can I say that my brethren have not said?
Monkey buttfuckers?
Okay,
Purple monkey dishwasher.
This game is horribly put together, but aside from the horrid graphics, memory leakage on AMD GPUs that cause the game to crash and extremely low FPS, the piss poor controller mapping in the menu and game itself, the blatant Jedi Academy animations and music and sound ripoffs, the non-challenging puzzles, which they're so tiny for puzzles. It's not even puzzles. I can't even consider them puzzles.
Tasks that you must accomplish.
Tasks. That's what I probably should have said. Terrible load times, bad voice acting. The generic story has lots of potential, so I'm literally going to give it one chair.
Actually, speaking of load times, I like how it loads to 100% and then it has to build the world.
Yeah.
It seems a mite redundant, but that's one chair for fun and one whole chair for the final score. Do not buy this game. Sons of Nor, more like Sons of Bor.
I do have some final words.
Yeah, and I want to go back to this because
Right.
I had just me walk in to that forum org and I was like, all right, seriously, did you QA the Linux build? So we have the game running at 720p on an octa-core NVIDIA 980 powered box with all the bells and chainsaws turned off, which, Brad, we actually did. We'll check out the image right here. 720p.
Oh, the glorious 4K screenshots. Zoom!
24 FERPs. That's actually a crop. And, they get back and they genuinely say, there's a lot going on there. Lots of NPCs, lots of objects, far vistas, foliage, water, and last but definitely not least, sand. Maybe we should remove some things here and there to make it run faster, ? Then our bro, Emulon, just like shut the fuck up. I mean, just lays into him.
In German and English.
Right.
Yes.
So...
It's a bilingual
Take some notes, Brad. Like I said, you got a lot of bulls pulling this out of... You got a lot of bulls double dipping after you kickstart, then selling it on early access. But man, you just got some Full Metal stupid putting this out as a full release. What do you got, P-Man?
Yeah. Like I said, there was a very good game in here. I wanted to like this game. I started playing and, there's actually a lot of lore to this thing. All right, well, it plays a bit like ass, but
they had a story. They got a very good prototype to show somebody to get funding to make a complete game. This is not that.
Yeah. And I started playing, and I'm like, this was promising, but it sounds a bit like ass. And about 2 hours in, I'm like, I just can't do it anymore. The only time that frame rates were acceptable were when you were indoors. And I don't mean when you were at the academy after the tutorial. No, I mean when you actually go into an indoor area. Yeah, the frame rate's alright-ish at that point, but it's still freaking terrible. 40 frames per second in an indoor area and 15 frames per second outside is really bad. And I mean bad. Fix this shit. Otherwise, I recommend no one buy this game.
Absolutely agree. Like, the story has potential. It really does. They put some effort into the story and the lore of the game, but everything else, it's like, it's just slapped together. Pure bullshit. Like, again, I like the idea that they wanted to use the emotive epoch so you can be able to do all that shit with your mind, but like,
in virtual reality,
maybe you should optimize the game first before you decide to add cool controllers. You know what I mean?
And
like,
removing shit from your game is not optimizing.
Or have
it.
like basic controller support fix.
Yeah, or that too. You know?
Anyways, coming up next, we talk 4K monitors and how I'm going to steal your girlfriend.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, it's my favorite time of the week. It's a hate mail! And this week, it's very Jordan-centric. Good times.
It is.
But before we get to that, let's go on over to LinuxGameCast.com. There's a lovely, lovely contact button on the nav bar. Push it, fill out the form, fill out the CAPTCHA thing. Prove you're smarter than whatever Ven's got going on this week, and we will be happy to feature your message, unless, of course, you're trying to promote your game or even your crowdfunding campaign for a game. Because if you are, there's one thing we need, or three things at the very least that we need.
Sometimes
Keys,
four things.
Either Steam keys for your early access game or finished game, whatever the case may be, or if you're still, running your Kickstarter or your Indiegogo, make sure to send us a teeny tiny little link to where we can download the Linux build of your game. Because if you don't have one of those, we will not mention your thing. All right.
It doesn't even need to be in any real state of completion, just to prove that you have something working under Linux.
Yeah.
That's all we're asking for.
All right.
It's a Linux build, literally. So Newell has something to say. Apparently, his girlfriend says Jordan is unusually attractive in last week's video. And he asks whether or not he should dump her.
Well, first of all,
Yeah.
Newell, I
Yes.
just want to say is, it's okay if you find Jordan attractive. You don't have to disguise things. We're cool with all that here at LGC. But look at that face.
How could you not love that face?
The answer is, by the
sexy,
way,
it hurts.
yes. And by the way, here's my number.
Apparently, I guess it had something to do with the fact that last week Jordan was getting hit in the face with natural sunlight. I don't know.
It's because he sparkled.
He had a sweet little tan going on, And like I said in the show notes, I'm like, nah, she's a keeper. All you need to do is start to look like Jordan, smell like Jordan, and even moan like Jordan in bed. And then, only then, she will be loyal to you. Unless Jordan comes over, then you're up Schitt's Creek. And then I put, Jordan killed my mother and raped my father.
That's right, son. Now get back to the garage.
Monster Cameron writes in, he says LGC needs more AMD. Jordan, get Ann.
Jordan.
Jordan, get
Jordan.
Ann. I was more pissed off at the Ann. It's A. R9 290X 44K, to which Jordan cordially replied,
Go fuck yourself. I just bought a 980. But, mind you, if you want to provide the card, if you want to send the Jordan Svung a R9 290 with 4 gigabytes of RAM, I will happily stick it in the system, find a kernel from 1992, and build the Linux drivers on there.
Good times.
And I'm just going to reiterate. I mean, that's the easiest way to spot a filthy dual-booting heathen. Is somebody that has an high-end AMD card. Because you don't intentionally buy one for Linux gaming unless you're a
Java developer, or you're into mining bitcoins, or you like CL Compute, whatever.
Or you Sandy Martin.
But
Or you
there
like
is-
to torture yourself.
or if you like the cock and ball torture, yeah. But this is Lemma, and he says no
Drugs
drugs.
are bad
So I
and
immediately
kind.
stop paying attention. And he says, "Hey there, LinuxGameCast. You remember DOS Miner was on YouTube? It was on a YouTube thumbnail of episode 98 of Linux Gamecast Weekly. Buddy, I don't remember what I had for breakfast today, man. Asking me to remember like almost a
Did
year
you
ago.
mean Dominic?
no, actually,
I did now. But he
DOS
says,
Miner.
well, time went by. We kept working on DOS Miner. Maybe you're interested in the result of a few months of work. So how about checking it out again? Because let's use your checklist. Number 1, the website. The website looks a lot better. They use Twitter Bootstrap. Number 2, the description. What describes the... Well, it describes the game. What else should a description do? That's brilliant. I never thought of that. I have to go reevaluate my entire life now. I think I might have found Jesus. He's over at the car wash. Number 3, Minecraft. This game is not Minecraft. It was never meant to be anything like that. DOS Miner has almost no similar things to Minecraft except for the name, but that's an other thing. 4th, Terminal. DOS Miner is no longer based in the terminal. Then why was it an ASCII game in the first place? Number 5, soundtracks. I also like the soundtracks. That's why they are still in the game. Good for you. Number 6, the terminal. You already said that. I'll say it again. No, DOS Miner is no longer based in the terminal, so it can't really be. Again, why is it ASCII then? Makes no sense. Good for you. Number 7, the what the fuck effect. The new version of DOS Miner. You know where you are and who you are. I have that trouble on a daily basis, not knowing where or who I am.
What I am.
This one here is especially Jordan.
I need drugs to play it. You can play the new version of DOS Miner without meth or Christal Blue. Or Christal Blue?
Christal Blue, baby.
Christal
Fuck mothering title, right?
Christal Blue. Alright, it's cheaper to play DOS Miner now, trying to feel them at you, Sensei. Well, that's it. I think you should try the new DOS Miner. It's at www.dosminer.de. Enjoy your day in Lima! Well, there you go.
Yeah, that was a thing. It showed up
once
just
the
minutes
show is
before
done, I'm
the
going to go do
show.
some Christal Blue.
What episode was that? Like 98?
98, yeah.
Literally almost a year ago.
But yeah,
No.
the guy actually sent us a... Well, he posted to our Facebook page, facebook.com/LinuxGameCast, just minutes before the show. I'm like, oh, there's a thing there. Ben was like, put it in the notes. There you have it.
Yeah, thanks. You got a long memory, son. One guaranteed way for us to always mention it is if you put us in your game.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I'm sure there's already a Muujin mod with us as like fighters. And on that bombshell.
Cue the music! You can always find me at Vinstone, cleverly disguised at Vinstone on the Twitter nets, plus Vinstone on the G+. Jelly baby.
You can find me, Jordan Svung, at Twitter on the burn, or on Twitter at the burn.
On the burn, baby.
Yes. Puking rainbows due to 4K, or on Google Plus at plus Jordan Svunga.
I am Pedro Mateos, a.k.a. Plagiarismo, a.k.a. the Mexican, a.k.a. the Giggling Death. I could go on forever, but you can find me at Unaccounted For on Twitter or plus Pedro Mateos on Google+.
And I'm Sandy Martin. You can find me on Twitter at Ultimagus, or you can find me on the Google Plus at plus Sandy Martin, or you can find me on Root Gamer if I ever come back anytime soon at
Or you can
Ultimore
find
at
him-
rootgamer.com.
Or you can find him in your deepest, darkest nightmares.
Or if you're watching the video version, you can find them in any censored Japanese porn video.
True
Yes,
facts.
look at those squares.
Also fact.
Pixels everywhere.
But not voxels. we've yet to progress to 3D volume pixel technology for Sandy.
I'm glad that never took off. God, I remember it was like 2 years ago. Voxel, all the things.
Yeah, Minecraft. The Minecraft effect.
Yeah. I've been Minecrafted.
5 dudes.